quickly go through two of the official theories, and then I'll let Joe, you can tell me what you think might have happened.
Okay.
So first off, Reinhardt, who I believe he was the guy running the search operation, he ruled out abduction in his mind. He said he didn't rule it out 100%. He said it was very slim chance that Samuel had been abducted, only because traffic in the park at that time was very light, and the father only saw 2 cars go by in the same time he searched, and the 2 entrances to the park were staffed and no one saw the boy in the cars leaving. So I think it's, unless somebody abducted him and then took him deeper into the park, I think you could probably rule abduction out.
No, I agree with that. I think my gut reaction initially was there was nothing like that going on.
Yeah. And now Tim Evinger, the investigator that was brought in, he was quoted saying, while there are many theories, the strongest theory is that he was in those woods somehow, and he likely, in my opinion, got covered up by snow and then maybe became victim of an animal later on. I believe that when a child goes missing and you throw every resource you have at it initially, and I would like to seen that happen with Sammy that night. So again, Tim, he feels strongly about this case, and he feels that the likely outcome is Sam got covered up by snow that night, and then later on became a victim of an animal. So that's the leading theory on this case. What wild theories do you have?
I would say, honestly, none of them are wild. I'd say, although this one's strange in regards to the visual and the time window in which he went missing was very small.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with what Tim is. I think I'm kind of on Tim's train as far as theories go, and I think that's where a lot of his frustration is coming from. I haven't even heard him say these things, but just the way you're reading it, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes.
Yeah.
He is very frustrated. Mm-hmm. He's very, very frustrated and emotionally invested in this case. And the way his quote, because I'm reading the quote that you wrote down, and it's word for word how he said it. It's like the words he used and how he said it is almost like, this kid is laying there somewhere and we couldn't find him.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's probably beating himself up just like other people involved in the search are for. And he's frustrated and he's just pissed off. Just like I think any good human being would be. It's like that whole idea of like, we probably stepped over him. We probably were right by him and we just couldn't freaking find him.
Yeah. It's, it's something all the searchers go through in these cases where they don't find anything. I think even in the cases where they find the remains of somebody, I think that gives the search team closure.
Sure.
That they're at least able to give the family closure, like we found your loved one. But in cases like this where they find nothing, it's got to just nag at you. Like, what did we do? What could we have done different?
Well, and even in the cases where they find the bodies, and sometimes they're just way off into nowhere land, it can make you breathe a sigh of relief that if you were on a search team, you didn't search an area that made sense and miss them, and then they died. Like, that would be awful if you didn't do. But if a lot of the case we have where they're unexplained, it's they end up like miles from where they should be, and it doesn't even make sense. Or like a little kid's body's up 10,000 feet up a mountain. It's like they wouldn't even be able to get up there on their own. How did this happen?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a case coming up that we'll look at where something like that happens. I tend to agree with Tim and you. I think he likely was, he went into the woods, being that he had the mental condition that he did, and he ran into the woods. He probably maybe he got injured in one of the obstacles, or he fell into a crevasse, or climbed into some kind of cave or something. Then it snowed 2 feet.
Yeah. Or sadly, the search people were scaring him deeper into the woods. Like,
potentially
with the Asperger's and afraid of noises, you have dogs and flashlights and people calling your name. Maybe he was hiding, which is just even more sad to think of. But yeah, I think it's this one is strange, but it's almost strange, but kind of clear cut based on all the conditions and the situation.
So this happened in 2006. It's 2019. It's just every time we have a case like this that's a little older, it always bugs me that they never find the remains.
Yeah.
I know Crater Lake has got a lot of very tricky terrain and it's very dense. And, if this isn't an area where people backcountry hike, they might never find the remains. But that always bugs me. You think over 10 years later that somebody would have found something, a piece of clothing.
And as the show goes on with all the episodes we're going to do, and there's so many more where they're never found, it's like kind of that idea. It's like, is there just remains everywhere in all these national parks that no one's ever finding? Like,
right. Yeah. It's a little creepy, but, so yeah, I tend to agree with you and Tim that, he succumbed to the elements probably the first night.
Yeah. Based on the weather and stuff. Yeah.
And I think that environment would be hard for anybody to survive.
With those clothes on, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you have no training, I mean, he camped a little bit, but with no survival training, even if he had survival training, that's going to be a tough night.
Yeah, agreed.